Hello, my name is Aaliyah Young, and I'm here to talk to you about a New York Times article called Puppies Go to Prison to Become Dogs That Save Lives. This article was written by Ethan Hauser, and it was written on July 27th, 2015. Now, this article talks about, like the title says, dogs that are being trained in prisons to become dogs that save lives. The way the dogs would save lives later on is by being able to detect possible bomb threats, possible biological threats such as viruses and things of that nature, and weapons and things of that nature. So what's innovative about this particular program is not only that they're using inmates to train the dogs, but also that instead of the dogs being trained, this is the object, this is what it smells like, rather they're being trained to detect these things called thermal plumes in people. So what a thermal plume is when somebody is moving through a space, their scent and their plume has different gaseous particles that are specific to that person, specific to that person's perfume if they're wearing any, specific to that person's bodily odor or sweat or anything else that that person may be in contact with. Now, the luxury of this is that if a person is holding a bomb that contains certain hazardous chemicals and materials, is that their thermal plume will have gaseous particles in it that reflect and are specific to those hazardous chemicals. So in training the dog to be able to identify and evaluate someone's thermal plumes, they can also be able to detect if that person is in contact with any hazardous chemicals that could be potentially dangerous in a dangerous situation. Now, this is a win-win scenario because not only are more canine forces being trained and then used later on in the field, but also inmates being able to be the ones to train the dogs provides some level of therapeutic relief. Being that inmates are in jail for a long time, they're actually working towards being able to work with these dogs. As it's not just any inmate is allowed to train a dog, they have to earn the luxury of being able to be included in this program. And that encourages good behavior in prisons. That also encourages motivation in prisons and things of that nature. That's why it's a win-win. More canine animals, therapeutic relief for some of the inmates who may have a longer stay. Now, if I were going to continue to research on this topic, I would definitely look into Google Scholar, as I've learned, and I would look into training processes used to condition the dogs to be able to detect certain smells, because initially, the smell of a hazardous chemical would mean nothing to an untrained dog. The dog must be conditioned to be sensitive to that smell, and not only to be sensitive to that smell, but then the dog must be trained to respond in a certain way to that smell. I would expect to find, ultimately at the root of all research, I would definitely expect to find some Pavlovian conditioning in there, as well as some operant conditioning, definitely some levels of reinforcement, be it positive or negative, because if a behavior is not reinforced, then it most likely will not occur, as we have learned. And this article definitely relates to our course, being that it is a real-world implementation of training animals to do a specific job for us, and that job being very beneficial, as it's very useful to be able to have a dog that can detect bombs, that can detect drugs, that can detect weapons and things of that nature, because at the end of the day, that keeps us overall safe. It keeps us protected. It keeps our airports protected, our trains, our bus stations, and things of that nature. And so it's very useful, and the different types of conditioning are way more than evident in this article and in this practical use of the things that we've been talking about in our class. So I hope you learned something. Thank you so much, and good day.